right. Now, this is really interesting to me because, again, a lot of people have been fans already of rock and roll, especially with the entertaining king that he has. He also pulled out the Gigas. It just didn't work out. I believe this was against Pika, but of course, 2-1 record in favor of Vermilion right now. Let's see if rock and roll does manage to adjust to how Vermilion is going to play. Now,
Yep, you know, I think Vermilion is probably going to go Jaguar hunting. He will probably still stick with the king. The Gigas, yeah, like you pointed out, didn't really work out. I believe, yeah, that was against Pika. But, you know, he still got that Armor King, so I don't know. He might bring that out. It's day number 8. Anything can happen. And I think what you talked about with Vermilion yesterday was how Vermilion's not discounting anyone. We talked about Don Argus 2-0ing Dojin. So I think Vermilion will not rest until he secures his spot in the playoffs, until the last second of the conference.
Yeah, and one thing you and Rock and Roll said, something in common that you guys said, you know, they both have nothing to lose, right? Rock and Roll right now, he will go on its hair. I believe it. I believe in the our Lord and Savior Rock and Roll. And with the Lord and Savior, we're up against the devil, that is El Diablo Vermilion. Man, it's gonna be quite an interesting matchup to see. Vermilion again, been on its hair, Potch. Now the question is, I never thought that I would ask you this question, but man, if this was season 1, it'd be completely different. Potch, who do you think that Vermilion is using today?
You know what? He's found some success with the Devil Jin. I believe Vermilion also welcomed Rock and Roll into the Nationals. I believe in day number 1 it was Jules and Vermilion, and we saw some hype matches there with the Rolling Death Cradle and like just a lot of stuff coming out of Rock and Roll. But as the tournament progressed on, you know, I think people start to catch on to his style. So I think Vermilion might still stick with Devil Jin. You know, if it's not broke, why fix it?
Yeah, exactly. And one thing to note about King is that King kind of has a bit of a difficulty when it comes to sidestepping. And if Devil Jin, if Vermilion does go for the Devil Jin, Vermilion's gonna surely abuse that Hell Sweep. And the sidestep left is one way to counter it. Although not a lot of people sidestep left Devil Jin, which is a weird thing. But again, the difficulties on paper, King does kind of have a difficult matchup against Devil Jin.
That's true, and let's see, because you know, as he's self-proclaimed a character loyalist, he hasn't picked that much characters besides the Gigas. He's known as the King of Mandaluyong, and I'm sure he's labbed this matchup. Again, I mentioned it before, the scariest players are the players with nothing to lose, because they're gonna just go for broke and put safety aside and see, like, go nutty with the matchup. So who would know? Maybe he starts out with an Atlas Hammer to start things out, like just pull something right off the bat.
Yeah, 1-2 Atlas Hammer. You know, shout outs to the boys at home. Yeah, a lot of people do this, and you know, how is your opponent supposed to know what you're gonna do if you don't know what you do? Just go ham, you know, just go ham.
Exactly.
And everything's so entertaining when it comes to Jaguar mains, and man, it's just amazing to see.
Yeah, and let's shine some light on Vermilion. Vermilion, you know what? He did mention it yesterday. He does realize the pressure that's put on all these players, and he feels the fire under these players right now. So they really want where Vermilion is at. And in this high level, you know what? You win at someone's expense. So Vermilion, knowing that, is not taking one lightly at even just the slightest.
Yeah, this guy is definitely one of the most ruthless players out there. He's also very consistent. In Season 1, he's a top performer, always within the top of the standings along with Dojin and AK. He's always up there, and he performs super duper well. It's the same case here in Season 2 also. Man, so excited for playoffs. Vermilion, let's see what surprises he's gonna pull out though, because again, he doesn't only have Devil Jin up in his sleeve, he has a Steve now, he also has a regular Jin.
And I love this type of format because it just you can actually see a anime tournament arc play out, if you would. You saw how powered up he was as Devil Jin, but you see him bring out other characters. Same goes for Rock and Roll. He did perform really well, and I'm sure he gained a lot of XP. He was grinding it out. You know, he did have a rough couple days. Yesterday, I believe he was able to just claim a point or two. And now, let's see, because 2 days left, there's not much room for error, and he's got to go out with a bang. He's got to put everything on the line and really just risk everything because he's got nothing left to lose.
Yeah, one thing that I really believe in is that Rock and Roll isn't underperforming. Rock and Roll is actually performing really well. It's just that his opponents are too good. You know, it's just a matter of who performs better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a shame that we have to, it comes down to numbers, because the numbers don't tell the whole story. They don't tell how he was able to score that points, how even the rounds were, because they weren't shutouts, ladies and gentlemen. Rock and Roll was able to go toe to toe with the best of them. He wouldn't be here if it weren't for that. And he's been, if you haven't seen a Rock and Roll match just yet, I would suggest you tune in, and just tell everyone the Church of Rock and Roll is in. He's about to baptize some people.
Yeah, and before I got too serious into Tekken 7, I've actually seen Rock and Roll's name in a couple of tournaments and local tournaments,
nice.
and like, who is this guy? Like, why is he representing a lot? Why does he go so far in these brackets, right? Who is this guy? So I just found out, like, oh, okay, he's a nationals player now. That's very impressive, but I haven't exactly seen how he plays, and man, I've never been so entertained in my life. I don't think I've seen an RDC to be performed here in the Nationals ever since season 1, when we literally had Jason into play. We had so many Jaguar players.
Yeah, just if I could be afforded to tell the story, I did talk to him before the National started. He was very nervous. He considers himself the underdog, because even the newcomers of the Nationals, that's Pika and Nature Lover, they have experience because they were coaching, they were in the behind the scenes, they were training with these people. But he is the real newcomer. He is the Bambi of the Nationals, if you would. And for him to stick toe to toe with all these players really says something. And he did say that, I'm gonna try as much as possible to RDC everyone that comes against me. He did it on the first day, and he's been trying to give highlight real match performances. And he has been performing so far. So, it's just it's really we want to find the best of the best, and we're gonna be some winners and some losers, and we need to realize that this is a high level of competition.
And when people see an RDC, they already see it as a win, and I do not disagree. I completely do not disagree. And one thing also for Vermilion is that he's teammates now with a former LPE coach. And the fun fact, Nature Lover actually shared one single piece of important information to the LPE boys, because in season 1, the LPE boys actually struggled to fight against Vermilion, and he only said one thing: sidestep left. And that's about it. As soon as they got reminded of that information, it was just a breeze from there. They could finally, go toe to toe with Vermilion, and Vermilion would start to struggle against them. So let's see if that is going to be the case for the rest of the players that are going to go against Vermilion.
Sidestep left. I mean, it's easier said than done, because when you're in the face with the Saiyan Super Saiyan and he starts dashing in your face, you're like, what do I do? Right, sidestep left. So let's see if he'll put that into, if Rock and Roll will put that into play, because Vermilion still wants to sustain that. He did just gain, he did 2-0 Pika. Will he continue that streak heading into this match against another Jaguar, but Pika using the Steve? Let's see which characters he has on his sleeve.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing to point out from what you said is that you can't really put things into motion immediately once something is said to you, but one of the very few players who do that here in the Nationals are the LPE boys, Dojin and AK. They just immediately execute it. Now here we are, ladies and gentlemen, we have a King versus Devil Jin matchup.
Reminiscent of their first meeting over here at the Mishima Dojo, a very no-nonsense stage. It's just walls and, Jack 7 robots were about to jump in, but yeah, that's what you got.
This is where supposedly Heihachi Mishima died.
Supposedly.
Yeah, supposedly.
What a swerve, Tekken 5. He's not dead.
Oh my goodness.
So let's get to this matchup. Very reminiscent of their first meeting. Let's see how Rock and Roll will be able to apply the changes and see. Okay, Vermilion still shades of the matchup against Pika, going for a hell sweep right away, introducing Rock and Roll to the left side of the stage.
And right off the bat, the hell sweep. He's just so fearless, ladies and gentlemen. Now Rock and Roll trying to interrupt Vermilion right now, attempts that giant swing, hoping to catch up with the amount of health that he has. He's outside of range though, so Vermilion gonna be very happy about that one.
Clock is winding down to the 30-second mark, still in the momentum of Vermilion. Now trying to bait a reaction out of him. Wow, he's able to block that big low rock and roll in the red. Not quite dead. I spoke too soon. Vermilion scores that first round.
Yeah, he tried to go for the style combo while standing into 3 or 4 electrics. Rock and roll gets that punish in. Again, King has probably one of the best jabs into the game.
For sure.
Or that counter hit, yeah.
Rock and roll playing very conservatively, trying to go fish for something big here. And now Vermilion in the life deficit, but that could change ever so quickly while rising launch here, but failed to follow it up. Rock and roll still trying to pick up the pieces.
Now, backdashing away is Vermilion. Wants to maintain that space because, again, you do not want to get caught in these chain throws by Rock and Roll. Rock and Roll likes to do a lot of that. Electric out of nowhere. This is probably going to be it. Yes, it will. Demon Steel Pedal to finish it off.
And like we pointed out there, he does want to get in the range Rock and Roll is comfy with because the throws are going to come in. Give Rock and Roll a limb, he'll take your soul. And now Vermilion exercising his dominance here. Going to the wall. Oh, wow. Splats him once again. Heaven denied.
Yeah, one thing to note about when you're fighting a Devil Jin is that you can't just recklessly go up against him when it's when it comes to a wall situation. Because again, you can either go for the Demon Paw, the forward 2, or you can just go for a Hell Sweep, which is, again, a lot of option selects coming into play.
Yes, that's true. Wow, the clock is winding down and the time will not be in Rock and Roll's favor. Needs to find something big, spends the drive, gets the shove, and Vermilion realizing that, you know, Rock and Roll's got to make a move, goes for a down 4. Wow, 3-0 for Vermilion.
Yeah, again, that's one of the primary struggles for a King going up against the Devil Jin, the sidestepping. Since King is considered a big character here in Tekken 7, there are struggles with sidestep left, and Vermilion is taking advantage of that very well. He's been throwing it out, especially in that first round.
He made a statement.
Yeah,
he made a statement throwing it out. It's like, yeah, you know what? Expect there to be a lot of hell sweeps because I'm going to question how your sidestep is, King main or King player. So that's a great job on how he was able to instill the fear of the hell sweep into Rock and Roll.
Yeah, that is so true. He introduced himself, but instead of a handshake, he went for a hell sweep instead. You know, hi, I'm Vermilion. Here's a hell sweep.
There you go. Yeah, here's another one for good measure. If you didn't realize, I got more hell sweeps coming. So it's a big task for Rock and Roll to, you know, overcome the tools of Devil Jin. You know, he was trying to get those grabs going on. Again, he's got to close out. King is the grappler of this game. As much as we want to see RDCs happen, you know, Vermilion is denying any attempts.
Yeah, and the spacing also comes into play here. Now, I'm willing to bet that Rock and Roll will go for the Forgotten Realm. However, this will also benefit Vermilion, which he does not want. Vermilion already has momentum on his side, and if you give him the Forgotten Realm that he also wants, it's a win-win, you know? And Rock and Roll does not only go for the Forgotten Realm. If it benefits his opponent more, he would go for the Infinite Steel.
Very tricky question you pose there. Will he give Vermilion the same buff as him and know that he can end his life as well? Let's see. Oh, going for Howard Estate. Okay.
Okay, something new. Again, this isn't a random stage. This is a stage picked by Rock and Roll, and poses more of a combo video for Rock and Roll side rather than Vermilion. So let's see if it works out for him. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Rock and Roll versus Vermilion, game 2.
And just a little fun fact, the Howard Estate in Season 1 of the Nationals was one of the most picked stages. Those tatami walls will be put into question if it'll extend the combos of these players. And Rock and Roll still rocking the Okada outfit. Getting a little skin change from Vermilion, going with the red outfit. Now let's see who's going to gain the advantage here. Wow, answered back by Vermilion right away.
Yeah, rock and roll going for a lot more risk this time. He's going for while standing 1+2s. You know, this is Vermilion we're talking about. Let's go for more risk. I cannot win games if I don't go for risk, and that's exactly the game plan right now. That was so risky for Vermilion.
It was, but look at this. Oh, wow. Really tricky exchange there, moving side by side to side. Slash kick, get some plus frames. About to be 30 seconds on the clock. Vermilion, oh! Rock and roll getting the Shining Wizard. Failed to follow it up, Rising 2. And now, rock and roll at the wall. Vermilion still trying to fish for jabs here.
He dashed up in his face, and that's exactly the disrespectful playstyle that Vermilion is playing right now. He catches rock and roll with another hell sweep, and he finishes him off.
Oh.
Laser scraper.
Yeah, Vermilion's nickname should be called the ankle breaker in these matchups because of all the hell sweeps he's landing. Let's see. Okay, the shove just misses, and Vermilion trying to go for a grab of his own.
Yeah, you can see rock and roll going for those weird setups. That's because he uses that as a sidestep. Since King struggles with the sidestep, he utilizes that instead, but it's not really working out. He's one hit away. The down forward one will finish him off, and Vermilion with the momentum yet again.
Yeah, the innovative movement is sort of paying off, but Vermilion just like bringing the fight to rock and roll, really controlling the pace. We haven't seen a tatami wall break yet, kid.
Yeah, exactly, and this is really unfortunate for rock and roll. He's up against the wall, the pressure is onto him. The giant swing will do so much damage.
He's gonna throw him to that corner there. Oh wow, the Samsara, and Vermilion just getting himself out of that really tough spot.
Right, this is so risky right now, though. Vermilion, rock and roll is looking forward to those shoves, but there's no counter hit just yet. Here we go, and the generic down four, as what other people call the try-hard down four. Vermilion wins all of his matches today, ladies and gentlemen. He will move up to the standings and, you know, wreak havoc for everyone else.